Hi folks, welcome you all, welcome back. How you all doing? Hope you're having a pleasant Wednesday so far. So we're back as usual. I'm at the home here trying to do some work, getting some stuff done, sorting out some sheets and a lot of stuff. I don't know how me once are busy, honestly. Anyway. So welcome back to Reading for the Mature Audience. And we're going to just get right into our book that we've been reading. Need to finish this book, really need to finish. So we're just going to jump into it. So the name of our book is Flowers in the Attic, and it's written by Virginia Andrews and narrated by Karen. Alright, so we have finished chapter 15 and we're now on to chapter 16. So here we go. So chapter 16, the long winter and spring and summer. Never had our mother spoken truer words when she said now we had a real window to look into the lives of others. That winter, the TV set took over our lives, like other invalids, sick people, old people. We ate, bathed, and dressed so we could sit down to watch other people living fake lives. During January, February, and most of March, the attic was much too cold to enter. A frigid vapor hung in the air up there, eerily misting everything over, and it was scary, you bet, and miserable. Even Chris had to admit that. All of this made us very content to stay in the warmer bedroom, cuddled close together as we stared and stared and stared. The twins adored the TV, so they never wanted to turn it off, even at night. Even at night while we slept, they wanted it on, knowing it would then wake them up in the mornings. Even the scramble of the dots after the late shows was better to them than nothing at all. Corey in particular liked to wake up and see the little people behind the desk giving the news, talking about the weather. For certainly their voices welcomed him more cheerfully into another day than did the covered, dim windows. The TV shaped us, molded us, taught us how to spell and pronounce difficult words. We learned how important it was to be clean, odorless, and never let wax accumulate on your kitchen floor. Never let the wind muss your hair. And God forbid if you had dandruff. Then the entire world would hold you in scorn. So if you had dandruff, the entire world would hold you in scorn. In April, I'd be 13, approaching the age of acne. Each day I examined my skin to see what horrors might pop up at any moment. Really, we took commercials literally, believing in their value as a book of rules to see us safely through the dangers life held. Each day that passed brought about changes in Chris and me. Peculiar changes were happening to our bodies. We grew hair where we hadn't had hair before. Funny looking, crispy, amber-colored hair, darker than what was on our heads. I didn't like them, and I took the tweezers and plucked them out whenever they appeared. But they were like weeds. The more you plucked, the more they came back. Chris found me one day with my arm upraised, seeking diligently to grasp one single crinkly amber hair and ruthlessly yanked it out. "What the heck are you doing?" he shot out. "I don't want to have to shave under my arms, and I don't want to use that depilatory cream that Mom uses. It stinks." "You mean you've been pulling hairs from your body whenever they appear?" "Sure I do. I like my body nice and neat, even if you don't." "Ah boy, you're fighting a losing battle," he said with a wicked grin. "That hair is supposed to grow where it does, so leave it alone and stop thinking about looking childishly neat and begin to think of that hair as sexy." Sexy? Big bosoms were sexy, not crinkly, wiry hair. But I didn't say this, for little hard apples were beginning to poke out of my chest, and I just hoped Chris hadn't noticed. I was very pleased. I was beginning to swell out in front. I was very pleased I was beginning to swell out in front when I was alone, in a private place, but I didn't want anyone else to notice. I had to abandon that forlorn hope, for I saw Chris glance quite often at my chest, and no matter how loosely my sweaters or blouses fitted, I believe those little hills betrayed my modesty. I was coming alive, feeling things I hadn't felt before. Strange achings, longings, wanting something and not knowing what it was that woke me up at night. Pulsating, throbbing, excited, and knowing a man was there with me, doing something I wanted him to complete, and he never did. He never did. Always I woke up too soon. Before I reached those climatic heights I knew he would take me to. I knew he would take me to. If only I wouldn't wake up and spoil it all. So see, they're both getting, not the little ones. So these two, Chris, so she and her brother, they're both, their bodies are maturing, so they're feeling the things of a teenager and all sort of stuff. So I guess it should be maybe confusing for them, you know. But let's read on. Then there was another puzzling thing. It was me who made up the beds every morning. As soon as we were up and dressed, and before the witch came in with the picnic basket, I kept seeing stains on the sheets, and they weren't large enough to be another of Corey's dreams of going to the bathroom. They were on Chris' side of the bed. For heaven's sake, Chris, I sure hope you don't take to dreaming of being in the bathroom while you're still in bed. I just couldn't believe his fantastic tale of something he called nocturnal emissions. Chris, I think you should tell Mommy so she can take you to a doctor. Whatever you have might be contagious, something Corey could catch, and he's messy enough already in the bed without adding more. He threw me a look of contempt, while red color heated in his face. I don't need to see a doctor, he said in the stiffest way. I've heard older boys talk in the school restrooms, and what is happening to me is perfectly normal. It cannot be normal. It is much too messy to be normal. Ha, ha, he scoffed, flashing his eyes with hidden laughter sparkling in them. Your time to mess up your sheets is coming, he said to me. What do you mean? Asked Mommy. It's about time she told you. I've already noticed you're beginning to develop, and that's a sure sign. I hated that he always knew more about everything than I did. Where did he learn so much? From nasty idle talk in the boys' room. I'd heard some nasty idle talk in the girls' room too. But darn if I was going to believe one word of it. It was all just too gross. Too gross. The twins seldom used a chair and they couldn't the twins seldom used a chair and they couldn't loll about on the bed, for that would make them rumple, and the grandmother insisted that we keep everything ship-shape. And though they liked the soaps, they still kept on playing as they occasionally glanced up to see the most spellbinding scenes. Carrie had that dollhouse with all its little people and its many small fascinations to keep her constantly chattering in a sing-song. Little way that could grate on your nerves. Many an annoyed glance I'd throw her way, hoping she'd shut up for 2 seconds and let me hear and enjoy without all that chit-chat. But I never did say anything to her, for that would bring about howls worse than the low murmur of her back and forth conversations. While Carrie moved the dolls about and conversed for male and female, Corey would fiddle with his many boxes of Tinker Toys. He refused to use the directions that Chris tried to teach him how to follow. Corey would design whatever suited his needs most, and what he constructed was always something he could beat upon to make musical notes, with the television to make noise and give a constantly changing variety of scenes. The dollhouse with its many the dollhouse with its many charms to please Carrie, and the Tinker Toys which happy away the hours for Corey. The twins managed to make the best of their confined lives. The young are very adaptable. I know that from watching them. Sure, they complain some about 2 things the most. Why didn't Mommy come as often as she used to? That hurt, really hurt, for could I tell them? And then there was the food. They never liked the food. They wanted ice cream cones that they saw on TV, and the hot dogs TV children were always eating. In fact, they wanted everything that was aimed at a child's appetite for sweet things, or toy things. The toys they got, the sweets they didn't. And while the twins crawled about on the floor or sat cross-legged, making their particular kind of annoying racket, Chris and I tried to keep our minds concentrated on the complicated situation that unfolded daily before our eyes. We watched unfaithful husbands and deceived loving wives. We watched unfaithful husbands deceive loving wives, or nagging wives, or wives too concerned with their children to give the husbands the attention they deemed so necessary. It was vice versa too. Wives could be just as unfaithful to husbands, good or husbands bad. We learned love was just like a soap bubble, so shining and bright. One day and the next day it popped. Then came the tears, the woe-begone expressions, the anguish over endless cups of coffee while seated at the kitchen table with a best friend who had her own troubles or his own troubles. But no sooner was one love over and done with than along came another love to start that shining soap bubble soaring again. Oh, how very hard those beautiful people sought to find the perfect love and lock it away, keep it safe, and they never could. One afternoon in late March, Mommy came into the room with a large box tucked under her arm. We were accustomed to seeing her enter our room with many gifts. not just one. And the strangest thing was, she nodded at Chris, who seemed to understand, for he got up from where he sat to study. Caught hold of the small hands of our twins, and he took them up the attic. I didn't understand in the least. It was still cold up there. Was this some secret? Was she bringing a gift just for me? We sat side by side on the bed. Carrie and I shared, and before I could have looked at the gift, meant especially for me, Mommy said we have to have a woman-to-woman talk. Now, I'd heard about man-to-man talks from watching old Andy Hardy movies, and I knew these particular kinds of discussions had something to do with growing up and sex. So I grew thoughtful and tried not to show too much interest, which would be unladylike, though I was dying to know at last. So her mom is finally going to talk to her about what's happening to her body. And did she tell me what I'd wanted to hear for many a year? No. While I sat solemnly and waited, the disclosing of all the evil, unholy things boys knew from the moment they were born, according to one particular witch grandmother. I sat stunned and disbelieving while she did the explaining of how likely any day I would start to bleed. Not from a wound, an injury, but from God's plan of how a woman's body should function. And to add to my amazement, not only was I going to bleed once every month from now on until I was an old woman of 50, this bloody thing was going to last 5 days. Well, at least she's lucky. Some people have 7-8 days. And some women, even 3 times per month. Can you imagine? Worse for those who suffer from endometriosis and dysmenorrhea, because I suffer from endometriosis and it's terrible. The pains are terrible. It's terrible. Terrible. Anyway, until I'm 50, I asked in a weak voice. Let me pause here. I don't know what's happening here. Sorry, folks. I think something happened here with the phone. Alright, let me just finish up here and then I'm going to pause because something is wrong with the phone again. I asked in a weak voice and small, afraid. Oh, so afraid she wasn't joking. So we'll pause there, folks, and then we'll be back. So thank you for listening. Thanks for taking the time out to, spend your time to listen to my stories. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. You can find me on YouTube. So that's Karen Vibes on YouTube. And you can follow all the other stories that I read. And you can follow through to right where I am right now. Alright, so catch you folks again. And thanks so much. Sorry, I have to just stop right there.